Hello, and thank you for watching Ask Ron, where Ron answers our Closers Club members' questions each and every week. My name is Adel, and I've got Ron here, obviously. How you doing today, Ron?
I'm great. Perfect weather outside. Just got through filming a Finding Commercial Deals lesson that we're going to get out pretty quick, and got a lot going on right now.
Yes, sir. Remember, if you have a question you'd like to ask Ron, make sure you're a Closers Club member, and you get all the details about that membership at reclosersclub.com. Our first question is Baleigh from North Carolina. My husband and I own 124 acres of family land in eastern North Carolina. The property is in both our names as tenants by the entirety, and his mother has a life estate on a portion of it. I've watched your land trust video and printed the warranty deed to trustee and the agreement of declaration of trust. I just want to confirm, if we put the property into a trust, does his mother's life estate stay in place and unaffected?
Okay, I actually answered that one for them yesterday.
Okay.
And the answer is yes, you need to put the property into a grantor revocable trust. That's called a land trust. And as far as your mother's situation, I can't answer that. Do not know the laws in your state. You'll have to have an attorney answer that for you. Regardless, I take it that it's all one piece of land. So if you put it into a land trust, I don't think it matters what happens underneath that. Life estate, in my definition, life estate just means that when she dies, it's yours, period. So the answer is yes, use a land trust.
Okay. All right, Sandra from Florida, another land trust question. When buying a property, I want to put in a land trust. Is it necessary to complete all three documents: the declaration of trust, the warranty deed to trustee, and the assignment of beneficial interest?
The assignment of beneficial interest has absolutely nothing to do with a land trust. You use that when you're wholesaling a house. Land trust, you got to record the warranty deed to trustee, grant deed to trustee in California. You don't have a trust until you do that, because the trust is not funded. Your house funds the trust. In fact, when you sell that house, that trust is dead. There's nothing left in it. That's why it's one house in one trust, one egg in one basket. So did that answer the question?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, I forgot the question now.
Does she need, what does she need when she's buying a house on a trust? And I think you did answer that.
You don't need anything except make sure your attorney's got a deed to a trust, and give them yours if you don't. And they'll do all the work, and they'll do the recording and everything, but you got to fill out the declaration and agreement of trust and put that in your filing cabinet. Now, if your attorney wants a copy of that, that's fine, because he can't disclose it to anybody else anyway. But I would not offer it unless he or she asks for it. But it definitely goes into your filing cabinet, and it's the only place on earth anybody can find out who's the beneficial interest of that trust, because it's not on public records anywhere.
All right. Michelle from Florida as well. My CPA told me that if I move my property into a trust, I need to file a separate income tax return for it and be taxed at a trust rate.
God almighty. Your CPA is absolutely wrong and has no idea what a land trust is. That is definitely wrong, okay? You have every right by federal law to put your house into a trust for estate planning purposes. And I don't know why your CPA doesn't know this, but well, yeah, I do. Okay, CPA knows how to fill out tax returns. They're not in this industry. It's the worst place you want to go to get that information. I can promise you, putting your house into a trust triggers no taxes. There is no tax return. There's no special filing. There's no EIN number. Nothing changes at the end of the year. Whoever the beneficiaries of the trust are the ones that absorb any taxes or losses. And that should be an LLC. Not your home. If it's your home, you just have you be the beneficial interest of the trust. If it's a property that's not owner occupied, I would have an LLC own the trust, and then you and your spouse own the LLC. But I mean, I got a whole course on that, incidentally, right on your Closers Club site. And you go up in the search box and you put land trust, and that would be under. It'll come out under resources. There's a whole lesson on it, answers about every question you could possibly ask. And there's another lesson you need to watch if in fact you're worried about your estate planning and so forth and your tax and your entities, and that's called 4 LLCs. And that's when I do that talk about 4 LLCs and why, and you're using your IRA and using a solo 401k, all within that one talk, right up there, free for your benefit. By the way, if you're watching this, that means you are a member of the Gold Club, so that also means you're automatically a member of the Closers Club. Your $99 level has been reduced to $59, and we've renamed it. So you should have been probably notified about that by now.
Yes, sir. All right, Tony and Angie. Ron, when using a Roth IRA for wholesale deals, putting down earnest money from the IRA and directing the assignment fee back in, are there any limits on how many transactions you can do in a year, and what do we need to follow to stay compliant and avoid any prohibited transaction issues?
Yeah, there's a limit. You can't do more than 500 a year, Tony. Yes, that was a joke. No, there is no limit on how many you can do. But if all you do in your IRA is wholesale houses, and they did come after you and you're unlucky enough to get audited, they could say your IRA owns a business. If that's true, you will pay income taxes on the gain at the trust rate. So that's why it's good to mix other stuff in your IRA, so it doesn't look the whole purpose on earth is to assign properties. Maybe, I don't know, whatever else you want to put in there, maybe some terms deals, maybe not, maybe buy some stocks in the LLC or something like that, so you have a diverse use for the LLC. And look, Tony, there's a good chance that you're never going to get audited by the IRS, but there's a chance you might, so why not? That's a good question, by the way, because a lot of people make that mistake. And you're learning. I know you're here every week. We appreciate it, and I figure maybe another 8-10 months you'll actually get it. But just joking, Tony. Just joking.
All right, Jerome. He's in New York. I have a question about buying houses on terms. I understand the tenant buyer covers PITI, but how are those other expenses handled? Utilities, maintenance, repairs, HOA, lawn care, etc.
Stop. Jerome, tenants don't pay PITI. Tenants pay rent. You pay PITI, okay? And on your case, all the expenses you're responsible for should come out of the LLC that owns the trust, that owns the house, okay? Everything going in and out of the LLC should be on properties that are in that LLC. So any expenses involving your business that aren't directly related to that property, then obviously, in my case, I want another LLC, and it's B on that lesson I just told you about, that covers all my expenses of operating, including all your training, your travel, your Gold Club, your Closers Club, your VA, all of that should come out of B, which is your operating entity, to drive down, and you write all that off before taxes, drives down your income in B. B's not where you're going to make a lot of money. Well, you could if you did a lot of wholesale deals in B, but to be honest with you, I'd rather you do your wholesale deals in your IRA and never pay taxes on them. You do them in B, you're going to pay taxes. So I keep rental properties in C. Rental properties mean lease option properties. If there's a tenant in it, it should go in C. All money going in and out should have to do with those properties. But all those other expenses that you spent actually locating those properties, that comes out of B. It's good that you keep those separate. And then I have another, A is the one that your IRA owns. And then A can buy properties in a trust, and A owns the beneficial interest of the trust. And I am sure about half of that went, right? So play it back again. Go listen to those two lessons I put up.
All right, second question from Jerome. He wants to know, is there someone here in the office who can review his contracts before he presents them to his seller or attorney?
For that, you have to have a mentor. Now, your mentor is behind the camera here. Okay? His name is Adel. And now you can do that. Can he do that on the group coaching is $697 a month now, along with the other stuff. He can certainly submit that to you, but technically that's reserved for people, the one-on-one mentors that I insist you do that with before you present the other side. But I imagine you can get by with submitting the contract to Adel.
Yeah.
If he's in a good mood, he might answer it for you.
Yes, sir.
So don't send it to him at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, definitely not.
Well, where does he send it, Adel?
He can send it to, just do the ask at ronlegrand.com if he needs to, and we can kind of get it to what he needs to do it there.
Good idea. Make sure that contract is filled out, because we are not going to fill it out for you. We cannot do that. We're not attorneys.
And make sure it's our contract as well.
That's right. It's got to be our contract, only our contract. And make sure we can read it. All right. And then you send it. He will suggest what you need to change and get it back to you. And you will need to change stuff. Okay. That's how you learn.
All right. Last one here from Sharon in Michigan. She has a house she's trying to lease option, and she just wants to know, what is the actual role the attorney plays? Is he just there to acknowledge the receipt of the NROD?
No. He doesn't acknowledge the receipt of the NROD. You get deposit. I get $2,500 deposit while I'm at the meeting before the attorney closes. All the attorney does is fill out the closing documents, and he has legal aid to do that, I am sure. I mean, legal assistant to do that, I'm sure, because there aren't very many of those blanks to fill in, and the ones that are there, the blanks to fill in, you're going to give him the answers so he can fill it out. But he's going to take care of the closing when you put the tenant buyer in the house. And that, whatever disclosures and disclaimers he needs in his state or she needs in the state, I want him to go get those signed. And I'm going to tell my tenant buyer that they will be working with the attorney to get it closed, and he'll get all that signed, including the CYA letter for lease option tenant buyers that is in your manual if you've been to my boot camp. And then on the buying end, of course, if you're buying a house, you're going to need the attorney to close that purchase, especially if it's in terms. I would suggest you have an attorney to close the house if you're paying cash for it. And then you need title insurance, and the attorney's going to read that because if you pay cash for a house, you better get title insurance. And that's where you get the attorney involved. You get a contract that you're going to do terms, you send it to the attorney right away and ask him to order title, and then he'll set up the closing when you and the seller agree that's to be done.
All right, that's all our questions for today.
Right. Okay, here we are now. I'm almost in the middle of May already. This year is going so fast. So you guys better get out there and get going. Pay attention now, because we're doing some sort of lesson for you at least every Thursday nowadays. I just filmed one with Marshall Silver, and I want you to listen closely to that one. That's all about getting your head on straight. As Alan and I will both tell you, that's really the only problem you got to solve. The rest of this real estate stuff is quickly solvable. Sometimes getting your head on straight takes months because you spend your whole life getting screwed up. It takes a little time for us to unscrew it up. All right, right, Alan?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. What was the rest of that? That was the question?
That was it. Yep.
Okay. All right. I'll see you guys next week. Stay tuned to us. Keep on the Closers Club site, and we're going to be doing one 2 Thursdays from now on all of your systems all in one place, starting with your $59 Gold Club and the rest of it. You'll get information on it even before we do that on a broadcast. So anyway, got a lot of stuff going on. Come see me when you can, because that's what's really going to jumpstart your career. And if you've been to the Quick Start School within the last 5 years, it's only $500 to return. Don't forget that. So come see Papa. See you next week.
All right, cool.